All right. So the next challenge in this is we want to put some pressure ports along the surface of the airfoil so that we can gather our pressure distribution. I want to keep in mind a couple things. I've got some examples of these in the lab if you want to see them. They put all their pressure ports in a line, and it was pointed out to me once that that might infer that the port behind the leading one is going to get some turbulent air. So let's try to make it a better chance of working. I'm going to put them on a diagonal. Um, I already plan on SLA printing this out of resin because the resin print is solid. It's airtight. I can make port passages in it, and I hope to minimize the amount of work I do post printing. If you do an FDM print or a cast or other way, you'll need to figure that out. To create the ports, there's a couple things to set up first. I need a place for them to come out. I need the angle at which they are made. Couple things. So I'm going to shoot for 8 pressure ports. I've found that an arrangement, I can get 12, depending on how much area I have on the side here. Any case, we're going to start with 8. I want to make a sketch. I don't know if I want it on this surface. I'm going to eventually need to come out of that surface, but I'm going to make a plane. So let's go with, I want to create a reference plane for this just so that I can move it later if I need to. I'm going to use my front plane as a reference and offset it. If this was 6 inches, I don't know, half inch in. So 6, 3, 2.5. Cool. I want to create a sketch on that plane. Mostly what I'm doing here is laying out where the ports are going to come out of my airfoil. Now, for me personally, I like to make my rotating point on the airfoil about quarter chord. So I'm going to set myself a construction line and make that 1 inch, because it's a 4-inch chord divided by 4 is 1. And I don't know, I kind of want it centered so I have the most material top and bottom to hold things. I'm going to put the center point there, but now I'm going to make some construction lines from the top and bottom surface to that point. Those aren't in line. I want to click on the surface, click on the line, and make it perpendicular. Well, that broke things. That's fine. Just drag it back here. And then click on the surface and click on the line for perpendicular again. And select both of those lines and make them equal. Cool. I don't like to use smart dimension or leave underdefined things, so I've found relations and different geometries to assist me in fully defining my sketches. This should supposedly be in the middle, at least close enough that I can work from. I'm going to probably have some kind of pivot tube, so I need to know the outside diameter of that. Previous airfoils I've seen, which I'm recreating-ish, are a 1/4 inch, so 0.25. Okay, we've got that. Now we need our ports to come out. Let's make an assumption that one port comes out of the center. I'm going to make that one first. The ones that I have for the wind tunnel upstairs, they use 1/16 inch OD copper tubing. SolidWorks does math for me. I know it's a 16th of an inch. I just type in 0.1/16. It's 0.0625. Hit enter. We can double check that. See, woohoo. That's the first hole. Now, I said I want to do 8. So I need to find 7 more around here. I want to evenly distribute them. I don't want to work hard at this. So I'm going to make a polygon. But I want it 7-sided. Cool. Now I've got a polygon. It's 7-sided. It can, change in shape. I want to kind of define that. So I'm going to use this vertical line and one of the points and just make it coincide. So now it can't rotate, but we have our size. You can put the circles on all of these if you want. I don't need to. I just need a visual aid. I want to make that circle, and this circle. Held Control to select all those with left clicks. Make them equal. And my goal is to try and evenly space this. I know my outer tube's going to have some wall thickness. That's a little close together. I don't really like that. Maybe I upgrade this to 3/8 of an inch. That's another common size. Hey, it fits. That gives me a little more space to work with. Maybe we have 7 ports instead of 8. Leading edge, trailing edge, that's 2. There would be 3 on top and 3 on the bottom. 3, 6. Nope, I like 8. We're going to stay with 8. Spacing here. I don't know. I don't want them touching. I'm going to give this a measurement. 0.08. Looks like that'll work for me. Now, I've got roughly where I want this all to come out. We're going to exit this sketch. I'm going to hide that plane. We're going to leave that sketch visible for now. You can see that it's a 1/2 inch in. We need to get the ports across here. I need to set up the geometry for that. So, I taught myself a few new tricks to do this. One of the issues, so I want to use this project curve. And I found when I was doing the Epler airfoil, it projected funny. This is one surface from the top to the bottom. The reason it projected funny is because this is one surface. I just wanted to put it on the top. I'll probably put a different diagonal on the bottom. I don't know. We'll get there. To get this so that I only project on one side with that, I need to split the curve. So under curves, we're going to do a split line. And I usually use intersection. I found with the Epler, because it's under camber, it split the surface a couple. I didn't like that. So I tried and played with it, and I found this, I can't pronounce that. And it worked great to just split it where I wanted. I open up my flyout menu and find the right plane in this case because it touches the leading edge. It's perpendicular. And then I select my surface, and let's hope that that works. Well, it worked. It created lines where I did not want it. Okay, that's fine. Let's go edit this. Maybe I need the top plane. The top plane. That's what I needed. Look at that. Now, we got the top and the bottom surface. Okay. Now, since I've got them split, we're actually going to go back to the top plane, create a sketch, and I kind of want my first port to be on the leading edge, and my last port to be on the trailing edge. Add a diagonal so they don't interfere with each other. I don't like blue lines, so we're going to go from this edge in, and from this edge in an inch. Sure, looks great. Okay, got my line, but that's only on the top plane where I sketched it. Get out of that sketch. So I want to get this curve on my surface. So now we're going to go to the project curve. And I want sketch on face. And the first thing we select is our sketch. It's going to be that line, and then our face, which I'm going to start with the top edge. You can even see it gave us a wonderful preview. Leading edge to trailing edge. Okay. Now, I want a leading edge port, a trailing edge port, and 3 ports evenly distributed. There's another feature that I learned to do this. Mind you, this became easier since a couple years ago when I last tried it. And that's in reference geometry. Point. And here we can select a line. So we got this curve that we created. I want to select it. I want to evenly distribute 3 points. So the end of the line is 1, the end of the line is 2, and then 3 in the center. Looks evenly distributed. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You can set up your points other ways. This is where I'm starting. So now I've got 3 points, leading and trailing edge. Cool. So I know my port's going to start here, 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 and end here. This is the more tricky part. That's all my setup. I had to do all of that so that I had somewhere to start with my 3D curves. We probably, I know you have not touched these in your Mean 104 class. That's fine. We're going to create a 3-dimensional sketch. Now, I follow the rules of particular rules. We don't use the F word. We do not use the fix button. And all sketches need to be fully defined. That's my personal preference. To start with, for the fun of it, I'm going to go over here, try and line up so I can see. I want to click on the center and make that center port the leading edge port. I don't know why. I feel like it. It doesn't really matter. My goal is to get this line. I don't want to add any constraints or relations unless it's along the z-axis. 3D sketches do some, hey, I found it. I moved around until I found that. If it doesn't, if you're way off in left field, let's see, that should do it. I'm going to escape. It's not even that hard in the left field. It doesn't really matter. If it's in a really awkward, it's fine. Click on the line, and add the relation along Z. That defines it. Coming out of that, that means we can bring a tube this way through the pivot. And so we started with that line. Let's create, let's give it a dimension. I don't know. This is going to be the center port. Probably need to make it a little longer than the rest, maybe 0.3 inches. I don't know. I'll adjust that all once I get farther and understand where I'm at, see everything. I'm going to start with this leading edge. Yeah, that's why I put that in the center. So I'm going to try and find where the end of that thing is. There it is. Okay. Now, for this airfoil, it probably could come straight back along the cord line. Sure. We'll make that one along, I look down here, X. The rest is not going to be the same. That one will be along X. And give it a dimension. I want to go a little bit into the airfoil before it curves over to there. So we've got that defined and that defined. Notice fully defined. So let's finish our three-dimensional sketch and connect the two. So I got that curve in. Good. That's the first one down. Now, close that sketch. First, create another one. Come out of my ending block. Okay, so I'm going to have, maybe we'll make that one the trailing edge port, and then these three for the top and these three for the bottom. I'm trying to think forward at how these pipes are going to go in there here. I don't know. It might be beneficial to start your line out here. Make a line. And then the second line gets closer, and then the third line goes to the point. You know, I created these three lines just all together, but these are definitely not where I'm wanting them. That's fine. We're going to make relations push them to where I want. I want this first line along the Z, and I want this last line. Actually, I want it perpendicular to the surface. So I'm going to select it, hold Control, and select the surface, and make it perpendicular. I don't believe that was an option the last time I did this, so lucky you guys, this will be easy. Now I don't want it out of the board. I want it in my airfoil. And now I can give that one. I'm locking things down as I go. If I try to select here inside of the airfoil, it doesn't let me drop this dimension. I got to go out into the white space. Awesome. Now I've got it. Make it short. You know, if it's too long, it'll, yeah. Now this guy over here, he's off in left field. The reason I started this guy without being on my block is because later I might go, wait a second, I need to arrange this line onto here. And instead of redoing all my work, if I add the relation by clicking that point and then selecting a point, I can make it coincide, right? So that pulled it in. Now we're really close to what I want. But if I go back and select this, I can select that coincide and delete it, which means I can now rearrange this thing back to a different port if I need to rearrange. I'm going to undo that. Control Z, Control Z. Awesome. And if I add a dimension to this line, we go back to fully defined. All right, done with that one. And so let's do Couple more. Four and two are going to be more or less the same as 6. Leading edge, trailing edge are the special cases. So let's go after the trailing edge. I was going to make it come out of that spot. We're going to, just in case I need to rearrange later, make my 3 lines and try and get it on. I don't know if you don't find it at first, keep trying. That looks like it. Oh, we'll see here in a minute. You know, I found with the Epler, it has a big, an under-cambered airfoil. It has a big whoop-dee. This one I might be able to make it come along the X and work, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to quite do what I want. So I'm going to actually select my front plane and then select that line and make them parallel, because that will constrain it to coming out straight out of the trailing edge. But my goal is to kind of center it in here. So I'm going to make some construction lines. One to this top edge, the other to the bottom edge from that point. And they are going to float around like crazy people as well. So if I select those two, and I want them along an axis, I want them to be parallel to the right plane. Okay, I tried to be ambitious. One at a time. Good. Good. And then I want to make these two equal to each other. So if they're equal to each other, parallel, should be able to move this about. I don't know. I played with this earlier. It worked. You'll probably find some other way that works better. Great. I'm going to make this one come in a little bit farther because the trailing edge, the size of the hull, such and so forth. Yeah, so now if you look here, you can see that it's kind of coming straight out of the trailing edge. That's to try and even up where that port comes. Okay, let's finish this line. Get out of the smart dimension. Select that along Z. We'll give it a dimension while we're here. And then select the end. And a point. Oh, whoopsies. Smart dimension. Now, select that point. X'd out everything. Now, redo my 2 selections and make them coincide. Yay! Fully defined again. Alright, so I've got several of these done. Let's go to the next step. When practicing, I found some problems with this trailing edge one. Let's attack the leading edge and this port because those will be the simplest, fastest. We're just going to do a sweep cut. I want a circular pattern. I want this to be 1/16 of an inch. And I want it to be along that path. Done and done. Let's do it again. Circular. 1/16 along that path. Is it going to work? Hey, that one worked. I had problems with the trailing edge in my other design. Oh, just for sanity's sake, we can't see anything. If we do a cross section, we might be able to see it. At this point, to start seeing the pathways, I actually like to change my display style to hidden lines visible. So now you can see that those paths, hey, we see a problem right away. They're crisscrossing each other right there. That's an issue. Let's go back and edit this sweep 3D sketch. Undo that coincide and move it up there. Exit. It's rebuilding. All right, cool. They're separated from each other. Yeah, this is ideas on how to do it, not the way to do it. Now, back to this trailing edge. Yeah, it wasn't cooperating with me. So, I did a Boolean operation. So instead of creating a cut path for this one, just to show a different way to do it, I'm going to create a sweep boss base, circular profile, select my profile, make sure to set my diameter. That looks like I want, but what I want to go into is options and merge result. Uncheck that. You could technically make all of these separate bodies. Now I've got two bodies. That's inappropriate for one part. It's only temporary. We've got the original airfoil and we've got this sweep. I want to remove it. So I'm going to go to Insert. Up in my, I like to pin this. Up in the File menus, I want Insert, Features, and I want to do a Combine, which I'm going to use Subtract for the main body. Love my little flyout here. Select my sweep body, and then do a Combine, a Subtract of this body, and check mark that. I now have that cut out. I can't tell exactly what's going on. What is all of this? You know, let's hide that. Maybe we go back over here. Oh, look at that. Is that a line? Nope, that was part of the body. It must have a 0 feature there. Oh, look at that. Ooh, that's tiny. So, I don't like that. I'm going to actually go back into this sweep and create a line off of that. I want to make it collinear with that one. And we're going to make them equal in length, just so I don't have underdefined. Fully defined again. And exit. It's recalculating. There we go. I like that. Now we've got a little porthole. We've got, you can see one in the front leading edge, one up top here. And so to get them out, I'm actually going to go back to this first plane, create a sketch, select this outer circle, convert it, extrude cut through all. Wanted to look, that's the wrong way. Let's switch the direction. And I actually want to add a draft angle of just a little bit. That's going the wrong direction. We want to go outwards. So exaggerate the number so I can see what it is. I'm going to go with like half a degree. I want to make that thing slowly open up. So when I get my tube that I'm going to use as my pivot, I can push it in there. It'll eventually seat on the taper, and a drop of super glue on the outside will hold it in place. And as you can see, we've got some of our ports coming through. That looks like leading edge, top edge, trailing edge. A little cleanup. We can hide this sketch. Let's select those and hide them. That's the basic idea. I'm going to go ahead and do a save as. Probably should have done this a while back. So that I have the original and I have this one all ported up. Now, I've done 3, but it'll be the same process to get through the rest of them. A few different techniques. Let's look internally again. Looks like they're going where I want. You know, all of that can be manipulated in different ways to get where you need to go. Hope this helps, and best of luck.